password checker in React.js. Here's the demo. So we have a field for our password, we have 4 rules below, and we have a submit button. And the rules are: the password needs to be at least 8 characters long, it needs to have at least a number, at least an uppercase, and at least a symbol. And if all these requirements are met, then the submit button becomes active. So let me show you how that works. If I start typing in something in my password field, and if I add a number, the contains number line becomes green. If I add an uppercase, the uppercase becomes green. If I add more than 8 characters, the 8 characters line becomes green. And if I add a symbol, all these 4 requirements are met, and the submit button becomes active, and I can click on it now. So if I click on it, I get a pop-up which says form submitted. Alright, you can change the design. I just have it really simple. I just want to show you functionality in React.js. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna create a new app in my folder, and I'll type in create, and I will name it, let's say, PWGen. This is gonna take a while, guys, so I'm just gonna pause the video and I will replay it whenever it's done. Alright, so my app is installed. Now I'm gonna open my folder pw-gn, and here I will open my VS Code. Alright, and then here I'm gonna open my terminal like this, and I will start the npm. It's taking a while, guys. Sorry about that, because my laptop is really slow. While this is loading, we can do something. Okay, so our app is installed, everything is fine. Now let's go ahead and get started from our app.js file. Just minimize this stuff. So here I want to remove this logo from here, and I will remove everything I have in my div class name app, and I will type in hi. I will save it, and just to make sure it works, everything is fine. And I have a CSS styling. So in our app.css, let's open app.css, and I'm gonna paste a CSS code in here just for the sake of time, guys, because this is really easy CSS. I'll just go over it and I will explain everything. So I will delete everything and I will paste a new one. So here I have a body for the whole app body. Just remove this background, and then I have a class which is the app. This is the app class. I get a color, a display table, margin, width, max width, text align left. There's gonna be a title section. I have border radius and background colors. I will have a description. In the description you'll have a link to the source code, so you can go ahead and copy this code if you want to follow if you are following along with me. So there's the content, got a border, bottom left, right, padding, background color for the input styling, and green class, that's for the rules. Whenever our password meets a rule, the rule becomes green, and font weight, it's bold. And then there's a submit button. On hover, it's changing the color, background color, and then disabled, the styling for disabled button. So you can find it in the description. You can copy it from there and paste it here, and then starting from now we will be typing all the source code. So save it, and in our source folder I will create a new folder which is gonna be components, and then here I'm gonna create a new file which is gonna be pw-generate.js, and this is gonna be, so here this is gonna be a class, and we import React, and we also import component from React. So let's do from React, and as I said, this is gonna be a class, and let's name it pwGenerate. This is gonna extends component, and here we will have a state, and in our state we will have a state for the password, which is gonna be empty. Let's add now, we will have more states, but let's add now the render function just to import everything, just to make it work. And here we will have a return, and in our return there's gonna be an empty wrapper, and here we will say hi from pw, and now we should export it. So export default pwGenerate. Alright, let's save it and let's import it in our app.js. So import pwGenerate from components / pwGenerate. And now where we have our hi, let's add pwGenerate component. Now we save it, and if we take a look here, we have hi from pw. If we see the background is changed too, and this content is been aligned a little bit, but we don't have all the classes, so that's why it doesn't show much over there. Okay, so we will have to add more states here. Another one is going to be for the password length, and we will save it here. So we will use this one to see if the password met the password length rule or not. So we have password length, it's going to be false by default, and then we will have contains numbers, and this is going to be false by default, and we will have is uppercase, and this is going to be also false by default, and we have contains symbols, and it's also false. Alright, now in our return here we should have a form, and let's add the whole class here. So we will have, there's gonna be a div class name excuse me, div class name title, and here we will have password checker. Below we will have another div class name, which is gonna be the content, and here is gonna be our form. Oops, we have form, and then here we will have our input. So we have input type text. You can put password if you want, but I put text just to see what we are typing in there. And the placeholder, say enter password. So we'll make sure we close this tag because this is JSX. And then below we have another div for our rules. So here we will have a div for each rule, and let's say contains more than 8 characters, and then we'll have 3 more. Another one is going to be contains numbers, and another one is going to be for contains uppercase, and then another one is going to be contains symbols. Alright, and then below here we will have a button. So we have button class name submit, disabled. Let's make this one true for now, because we will change this one later according to these rules. Okay, and here we will say submit. Let's save it. Let's see what we've got there. So we see that we've got all this form working and the styling is working too. We have the title class from our app CSS file. This is right here, and then content class from here. And then we have input styling, which is here. We also have we don't have styling for this one yet. We have the button class name submit. So here's the submit, and then what else? We have the submit hover over, and then submit disable. So this one is disabled for now. That's the styling for disabled. And if I make it enabled, where it's true, I make it false, and I hover over it, you know, the color is already changed, and if I hover over it, it becomes blue, darker blue. So that's the styling from CSS. Let's make it true for now, and to go ahead and continue now, we should have a handle change to handle all the data from our input. So we'll have, I'm gonna use ES6 here. Let's say handle change, and we have handle change. We'll have two parameters. The first one is going to be the input, and then is the event, and then we have here our functionality. So let's see, let's create the first one, because the first one is contains more than 8 characters. So we'll have another function here, which is gonna say, oh no, let's do it right here in our handle change. So we will update the state. We'll say this set state, because our password length is false. So now we should update the state in case the data from our input is longer than 8 characters. So we have this state. Now we'll update the state here like this, and we want to update the password length, and we update this password only. Actually, let's assign this target value to a variable. So we'll have let target value equal to e target value. So we'll get the value from our field and we'll assign it to our target value variable. And now here we update this state only if the target value dot length is greater than 7. We update it with true, otherwise it's false. Okay, and we're having this in place. Now in our render function we'll have another let variable, and we will use here the password length, and then we assign this state. Just do that so I don't have to type in all the time this state for this variable, for this state from here. So now here where we have our contains more than 8 characters, there's gonna be a class name equal to and here we'll have JavaScript, of course, and we will check if the password length, if this is true, then we assign a green class name, otherwise we assign null. And let's save it and let's see what happens on the page. So if I start typing in now more than 8 characters, this doesn't work. Alright, let's see if we have anything in the console. So the console doesn't show anything, so we did something wrong. Let's see one more time. We have password length, e target. So let's see what we get. Oh, okay, of course, because I didn't add it in our field here. Here we need to have one onChange. We should call this variable. We should use the onChange event to call this function because we don't send any data from our field. That's why it doesn't work. And let's have here a console log, just to console log our value from the field. So console log target value, and here in our where's input, we should have onChange equal to this handle change, and as a parameter we send the password. This is the field name, password. Alright, having this in place, let's try it now. So if I start typing in something, I see that my app is my console log. I get the data in the console log here, and if I add more than 8 characters, the 8 characters becomes green. Alright, so this works. Now the second one contains numbers. So let's create another function here above our handle change. Let's say check for numbers, and we have let's say check for let's do it. Check for numbers, and this is gonna get the string. Actually, let's also use ES6. We get the string like this, and here we have a variable which is matches, and we assign to this variable string dot match, and here we put slash, let's say slash backslash d plus slash g. So this is gonna check if our string contains any numbers. This is the code for numbers, and the match, let me spell this one. The match is looking for numbers to see if there's any number in our string, and then if there is any number, then this becomes true. If it's not, it becomes false. So here we have this. Here we update the state, set state, and we have contains numbers, and if matches is different than null, then we assign true. Otherwise, we assign false. Alright, so having this in place, now we can use it here in our render function. So let's put here contains numbers. Sorry guys, contains numbers. They should match. So this, oops. Alright, now it matches with the state, and we should do the same thing for our numbers. So I'm just gonna copy this stuff from here, and I will paste it here at numbers. So we assign the green class only if the contains numbers is true. Alright, let's save it. Actually, here in our handle change, we should call this function now. So we will do something like this. Check for numbers, and we send the let's say this needs to be below, so we send the value from our field. Alright, we will set target value as a parameter, which is the string, of course. Now let's save it. Let's go back and let's see what happens here. So we start typing in. If I add a number, the contains number becomes green, and if I add more than 8 characters, 8 characters becomes green. So these two rules work now. Let's go ahead and work on the one with uppercase. So we will have another function below our check for numbers. Check for uppercase, and we have a function check for uppercase. We get the string as a variable, and here we have the same thing, we just copy this stuff and paste it here. except on matches here we change it. We have slash from A to Z, all uppercase, and then another slash like this. And then here we update, of course, the contains uppercase. How's that? Oh, is uppercase. So this one we update is uppercase, and if matches is different than null, then we update it with true. If not, then we update it with false. All right, and then we should call it here in our handle change. So we have this dot check for uppercase, and we send the target value as a parameter. And I'm actually gonna comment this out here, the console log. Alright, so let's see, we've got that. Let's save it and let's see what happens on the page. So if I add an uppercase, it doesn't work. So it is something wrong here. Okay, we got check for uppercase string. Let me see something. Okay, let's make it like this. Handle change. We call this matches string match. This state is uppercase false. That's weird. Oops. Well, that's because, of course, that's because I didn't put it here in the return. Sorry about that, guys. It's kind of late and I keep forgetting stuff. So here we should check now is, where is that, contains numbers, is uppercase. So we should use this state in our variable. Let me just make this one prettier. Alright, let's put the state here. And then let's check it for if is uppercase, then we assign the green class name to our div where the E contains uppercase is. So let's save it now, and let's see what happens here. If I add uppercase, oops. If I add okay, if I add an uppercase, it says contains uppercase. So it works. Now if I add a number, oops, add a number and add more than 8 characters. So the first 3 rules are working. Now let's go ahead and create, the last rule. So the last rule is for symbols, and for symbols is almost the same stuff actually, but we just change this code from here. So now we could actually build everything in one. Thinking about that, we could actually have just one function where we have all these checks, but just to make it easier for you guys to understand how this works, I just split it in different functions. So here we have another one which is going to be check for symbols, and we have check for symbols. Alright, we get the string, and this is a function. Alright, so here we have a variable which is symbols, and we assign a new RegExp object. Alright, and this is a JavaScript predefined object. Now here we should add symbols only. So in order to add symbols only, we should type in slash, and we have we have that. I had this one somewhere, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it there because it's kind of long and I don't want to misspell it, because otherwise it's not gonna work. So this is how it needs to this is what we should have here in order for us to have to detect symbols. So here's looks like we get everything except letters from A to Z uppercase, except letters from A to Z lowercase and except numbers. So everything else is going to be a symbol. Alright, and then here we update the state. So we have this set state, and then we have here contains symbols, and we update the state with true only if we find a symbol in our string. So we have here symbols dot test, and the string is a parameter, and here we have true or false. So if it finds a symbol in our string, if it finds a symbol in our string, then we update it with true. If not, then we update it with false. And let's make sure we call this. So I'm gonna get rid of this console log, and I will call instead the check for symbols. So we have check for symbols, and the string is a parameter. Alright, and then in our render function we want to call contains symbols state, and having that in place we can use this if statement. So if contains symbol, then we assign green to our class name. If not, then we assign null. So let's save it. Oops, it looks like we have an error. So what's the error? Okay, so string is not defined. Okay, string is not defined. String is not defined, line 41, 30. Oh, that's because it needs to be target value. Sorry about that, guys. Target value, that's what we sent. Okay, and then we get it as a string from here. Okay, looks good. Now let's start typing in something here. Let's add an uppercase. Uppercase works. Let's add a symbol like $sign. We get a dollar, the symbol working. Let's add a number. We add a number, and then let's add more than 8 characters, and everything works fine. Now what we should do now is just make this button active after all these requirements are met. So in our render function here below our state, we want to have another variable which is gonna be, so let's say button status. So we have let button status, and we assign to this variable true or false, and we assign so what we have now is true, and we assign false if all these are true, and true if all these are false. So let's just copy. Oops. So first of all, password length and contains numbers. So contains numbers and contains symbols, and what else is there? Is uppercase. So if all these states are true, then we assign false, which means the button is not disabled. Otherwise, we assign true. Alright, and now let's copy this variable and let's put it here. Let's paste it where we have our disabled. So we have button status. Let's save it now. Let's see what happens here. So let's add symbols, number, uppercase, more, and then we see the button becomes active. Now the thing is that whenever I submit, click on this button, the form and the page gets reloaded. So we should create another function for our submit button. And here where we have our button, let's add another event, which is gonna be on click, and here we will create another function, and we will name it submit form, and we won't have any parameters. And let's create that form right below our handle change. So we'll have submit form, and let's create here the function. So we have, how did we name it? That submit form, right? Submit form, we have no parameters. All we do here is just prevent the default event, so prevent the page from reloading. So we have e.prevent default. All right, and then we have alert, and here we will have form submitted. Form submitted like this. That's all. Let's save it. Oops, we have an error. Let's see what's the problem. So E is not defined. Okay, that's because we need to get it from here. So if the event needs to be a parameter. Okay, now it works. Let's type in something here. Right, click submit, and we get the pop-up form submitted. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe for my channel, and I will see you in the next tutorial.